What's up guys, this is Nick from Nick's Archery. Today I'm doing a video up in Paringa Archers in the clubhouse. I've been kicked out down from the range down there, they're shooting down there. It is currently raining and windy, so I'm not shooting outside, I'll be shooting indoors today. But I thought I'd take a moment just to talk to you about stance. Now stance is probably one of the most common things when it comes to archery and one of the most basic. Now a lot of archers overlook this step when it comes to stance because it is one of the most basic things in archery. Now when it comes to stance, it determines a lot of things, and those things are your shoulders. It will determine your hip placement and your shoulder placement. So if I stand straight to you right now, that will determine my whole posture as well as where I'm going. You never want to twist in archery, you just want to stay natural at all times. Now when it comes to stance, a lot of people think, oh, you're just standing there, it doesn't really matter what you do, it doesn't matter where your feet are. That's wrong. It does matter where your feet are. It does matter where your feet are going to go. Because your feet, especially the balls of your foot are going to determine where your hips placement is going to be, and your hips are going to determine where your shoulders are going to be. And shoulder placement is probably one of the biggest things when you're trying to line up to the target. So, when it comes to archery, we have three major stances, and of course all the variations on those stances. Now the most basic one is our natural stance. Most recurvers will use this, probably not many compounders. But one thing you've got to understand is there's 4 points to when you want to line up or align to the target. And the two main ones are going to be both your shoulders, hand that's going out to the target, and your elbow that's coming back. Now, a lot of people will think, oh yeah, you've got to worry about your shoulders. But your shoulders will be determined by where your feet are. And for an example, if I'm going to use this natural stance as an example, I'm going to use my front shoulder, if I'm right-handed for a left side and left-handed for a right side, but most people will be right-handed. So we're going to use this shoulder to face the target. So if you're my target, this is my natural stance, just facing the target. Now, the balls of my foot are going to be in line to the target because my shoulder is lining up to that target. So these 2 points here, that point and that point are on that line to the target up here. Right? So you're already lined up with those 2 points. Bang, you've got it. Now when you put your arm up, your arm's going to be about probably here, going to the target. Now your elbow when you come back can only go as far as where your shoulder placement is. So it's going to come to about here, and then what that creates is a line that goes from your hand, shoulder, shoulder, elbow, also known as the straight stance. So some people will call it the natural stance, some people will call it the straight stance. The reason it's called the straight stance is because you create a straight line with your alignment when you do this. That is probably the most basic one in archery, and you can never really go wrong with this. Now when it comes to a closed and open stance, you can kind of get creative and get a variation of where you want to go. Because when you have a stance, you kind of want to create an alignment which gives you clearance on when you shoot, but you don't want to creep in and have your elbows sticking out somewhere else, and then you're going to get shots like that. So, when it comes to closed stance, you can see that our ball of the foot stays on that line on the back leg. Ball of the foot comes out on the front leg. Now what this creates is your hand is still going to have to go towards the target. But because the line of your shoulders is out, you see? So here we've got a natural stance, my shoulder's facing you. Now with a closed stance, my foot goes forward, just slightly, and you can see my back is now turning away. So that's why we call it a closed stance, because my body is turning, it's closing off to the target. So when you have this, naturally that line of your elbow is going to come out to here instead of being in line to the target. And what that creates is a line that doesn't really work. You can still see a triangle, but it doesn't really work that well, because when you come closed off, you're going to have to twist back, and then the elbow will have to come back here somewhere. And this is what can create a lot of shoulder problems, especially front shoulder problems for most archers. Because when you start to close off here, you're going to have to raise up. You can already see my shoulder coming up, right? It's not relaxed down as it should be. It's raising up because you have to go across and twist across your body just to get there. Okay, so that's why we always recommend never using that one, ever. Some people can shoot that and shoot well, that's great for them, but I would never recommend this. Now, number one recommendation when it comes to archery is the open stance. And this is the one that I use and I've been using for years, and it works brilliantly. Now, if we go through, two points in the ball of your foot, hand comes out towards the target. Now, your elbow is going to come back out on the other side. As you can see, it came out on the left side of our alignment line, where it came out on the right side of an alignment line. So, for an example, we go back to our straight stance, our natural stance that we have over here. Elbows to the shoulders to the target. Nothing's open, nothing's closed. Now, go to closed stance, backs to the target. Now, go to our open stance back here. We're coming back, bang. Our chest is now open to the target. But what you want to be careful is you don't want to be too open, otherwise you're just facing the target. Because the more you come out, the more this elbow goes out like that, and then you're going to have shots going to go off that way, which are going to go off that way. So what you want to create is this little triangle from here to here to here to here, right? And what that creates is this. Unlike this triangle, this triangle is actually backwards, and that's why we don't use it. This is the stance that we want to use. Now, this is what we call a triangle stance. And what that means is these two sides of that triangle is the structure of your body. Okay, and this line, this green line that goes up, is the clearance line and the alignment that you shoot on, or also known as the arrow that's going to shoot. Okay. So what tends to happen is when you've got an open stance, see my body's slightly open, come up, shoot back, my hand's here, it's slightly out, but I have clearance on all, and I won't hit my arm either. So when I come back, you can see my shoulder comes down, it's not raised up there, it's not collapsing. It's coming down, it's relaxed. But you don't want to be too open, otherwise your body will just turn towards the target. Okay, so when it comes to the open stance, this is the number one most recommended when it comes to that. Now, how do you do an open stance? What are the variations of each of these stances? Well, that's another question, isn't it? Now, when I have my open stance, if we create a line, our alignment line, and we're going to draw this quite big as well, you'll have your back, and you also notice that your back foot, out of all of these, out of every single one, has not moved. It hasn't moved at all. Now, why is that? There is a reason why, and the reason why is because that's your anchor. That's your anchor towards everything. That's going to be your point of access when it comes to lining up. You don't want to move your back leg, you want to move your front, because in front is where you're going to do everything. So when it comes to the back leg, it's always in the same position. Never changes. Never change your back leg, always change your front leg. Okay? That way this gives you more consistency and a better alignment when it comes to opening your stance. Now, when it comes to your open stance and your variation, and how do you know where you are in your open stance, right? So you're going to have your back leg, which is going to be normal spot, right? So your ball of your foot is going to be right there, right in the line, okay? Now your front foot, if we create so there's the front of your toe and your back foot, right? Now you've got another ball of your foot, which is the front of here. And you want to kind of line up that with the toe of your back one, right? So when you've got this ball, you can kind of see that the toe of this comes in line with the ball of your back one, okay? If you've got that, that will give you a slightly open stance, right? So if I look down right now and move my head back, my chest comes open to the target, but not a lot when I'm facing the target. You don't want to face the target. You want to just keep it open, keep it upright. Don't ever slouch forward, don't ever slouch back. Just straight. This also helps you with your posture, alright? This is the number one recommended when it comes to the stances, okay? Now, a lot of people, this is the one thing that most people don't talk about, is how much pressure you put on your feet. A lot of people will do 50-50 when it comes to it. So they do a 50% on the front, 50% on the back, so they're perfectly balanced. That's not a bad way of shooting, not at all, really. This, when it comes to percentages of how much pressure, or how much weight, I should say, how much weight you put on your front foot compared to your back foot, can come down to the archer itself. Now for me, personally, I like to do a 70-30 split. And that's 70 front, and 30 back when it comes to percentages, right? And the reason that is because for me as an archer, I have a tendency, if I did a 50-50 right now and did my draw and I come into my anchor, I have a tendency when I pull back with my body instead of just pulling back like that. Now, if you have most of your weight, 70% of your weight on your front foot, so you're almost leaning forward, but you're not, you're just putting weight on it. And you come back and you draw, that weight is almost going to disappear and you're going to stay straight. Now, it's something that you can kind of test out yourself and kind of work out, but the number one thing I would do is when starting out this stance, this whole, whichever one you're going to pick except for that one, is every time you shoot, look down on your stance every shot, okay? So when you come up to that line, that 1 foot over, 1 foot behind, have a look where you are, don't ever move. So what most people do is when they come up to the line, they get to there, they do the shot and they move, and everything's moved. Your stance is the most common thing, the most consistent thing when it comes to archery, because of the fact that if you don't move, you can generate the same shot, or at least it will contribute to the same shot. So, come up to the target, you got your line, okay? Don't ever move. Do your shot, bang, whatever, stay still. Look down where your feet are. Get to know what your stance is and what it creates for you. Now, it can be tricky for some people to figure out your stance, and if you're having trouble, you know, you can always ask a few other archers. They've always got their own way of doing a stance. If you got any questions, you can comment down below and just ask anything you want and I can answer them for you. When it comes to stance, it is crucial when it comes to stance. Even though it's one of the most basic things when it comes to archery, it is the most essential because it sets you up. Your stance is your foundation for everything. If you don't have a good stance, everything else is going to break away. It's like when you build a building, right? This is your concrete slab right here. If you don't have this, it's just going to go downhill and go nowhere. I hope you really enjoyed this video. I hope it was really good insight for you guys. Got any questions, comment down below. Leave a like and subscribe. And keep shooting.